Hey Mario, you want to go to the Olympic Games?
No!
Are you sure?
Oh yeah!
Oh well, I guess I'll go anyway. Hello everybody, I'm Garrulous64, and welcome to the land of make-believe. You might be wondering, what are we doing here in this nonsense realm? Well, dear friend and viewer, I'm here because the Olympics got cancelled in the real world, so here I'm still able to talk about wonderful things such as Sonic at the Olympic Games 2020. Unfortunately, Mario had to stay home, most likely due to medical reasons that I'm sure we're all aware of, and Sonic, well, he doesn't care about that despite the actual plague that's happening in his very own comic books. The man clearly does not fear death. Before we get to that though, I'd like to bring your attention to one other little game, perhaps you've heard of it. It's Raid Shadow Legends! Sorry, I got excited, but what's not to be excited about? The free-to-play fantasy RPG that I didn't know was an RPG until I started playing. As someone who plays D&D at least twice a week, I feel right at home amongst the knights, monsters, and locations present in the breathtaking world of Teleria. Speaking of which, let's check out some champions. Using shards of varying rarity, you're able to summon new champions to your ranks to progress through the campaign or fight other player teams. Here we have a medic that can both aid the party and deliver devastating blows, a bulky fortress goon that specializes in debuffs and looking fearsome while doing so, and Greybeard, who after a simple dye job could become the most fearsome pirate ever known to man. And oh look, it's a good boy! I know who I'm putting on my team. Oh man. So sometimes you might feel that your champions are a bit weak, so that's where the tavern comes into play. Using items of ultimate power or the life force of unwanted champions, you're able to power up your preferred champions to give them a leg up in battle. Or maybe focus on leveling up higher ranked champions instead. After powering up, make sure you take your champions into battle to progress the story, or compete in tournaments to try and gain some primo loot. Yeah, that dragon didn't stand a chance. And if mobile games aren't your thing, this game is actually cross-platform. Simply log into your Plarium Play account on the device of your choice, and he's always waiting right there for me to come home. What a good boy. You can find me in-game under the creative nickname of Garrulous64, and if you'd like to support the channel, you can download the game using my special link, which you can find in the description or in the pinned comment below the video. Newcomers using this link get 100,000 silver, 2 clan boss keys, 10 mystery shards, and the mighty Executioner. Make sure to pick up your rewards in your inbox within 30 days or you're missing out. And with that, I'll see you in Teleria, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, that really did just happen, and I'd do it again too. So where were we? Sonic at the Olympic Games on your phone. Fun idea? Let's find out. It's not actually strange to see the Hedgehog heading off to compete on his own, since there have actually been 2 other solo outings that precede this release by several years. First off, a game that shares its title with this one, we have Sonic at the Olympic Games, but much like what we talked about in the last video, this is a game for Java devices that uses Sonic Advanced sprites in new ways, and oh boy, does it use them well. You're able to compete in 5 different events using primarily just one button, and they're fine. It's nothing I would really recommend though. Gotta give bonus points to 1500 meter dash though, because it gives us some huge Kirby air grind energy. We also have Sonic at the Winter Olympic Games for iOS, but Sega got cold feet and pulled it from the App Store. So I don't really have any footage of that, but we can assume it looked a little bit like this, except maybe with some 3D models and, yeah, snow or something. There were also some handheld versions of these games, but the only one that really ever stuck out to me was Winter Olympic Games for DS, because it had a story and a world to explore with NPCs, and it's almost a Mario and Sonic RPG. Please, I'm begging you, if you won't make a crossover platformer, just make an RPG! You have nothing to lose and the entire world to gain! And now we're in 2020, where things are terrible, but also not terrible, since I got Sonic on my phone, and a new Paper Mario game just got announced, and I'm not sure if I should be crying tears of joy or sadness, since Paper Mario had a rough transition to 3D a while back, and has never really been the same since. And yeah, of course, Sonic on my phone, that's why we're here. A sort of free-to-play game for Android and iOS, featuring all your favorite characters, unless your favorites were the Mario characters, in which case, they are once again not here. I assumed in the older ones they took them out because Nintendo wasn't really in the mobile game market back then, but now, maybe it's just because they're not publishing it? I don't know, it kinda bums me out that they're not here because the production value of this game is ridiculously high. The console game seemed to release and then fade into obscurity almost immediately, seeing as it was difficult to find matches online on launch day, but Sega went all out for the mobile release. I'm sure you've seen on Twitter that Sega even sent out some exclusive merch to help hype up creators, and hype me up it did. This game is no simple minigame collection, by the way. Sonic at the Olympic Games 2020 features quite the lengthy campaign mode. No joke, I've actually got around 2 hours of footage, and I've only just reached the 3rd zone. Sure, that comes with replaying some events to win gold medals, but each one only lasts a couple seconds, except badminton. That one lasts too long. There is a story here as well, but much like the game's predecessors, the story is just about Eggman terrorizing the location holding the games, and Sonic traveling around to stop his henchmen. And Rouge and Espio, because they have gold medals. Honestly, it might not even be an evil scheme, they might just have won the games. I don't know, no one can be better than Sonic apparently, he'll rip those things from your cold, dead hands if he has to. Regardless of how in-depth the story goes, this is always my preferred way of playing games like this. Most minigame collections will favor gameplay over narrative, but for someone like me who gets bored playing multiplayer-centric stuff after a short time, the way they frame the content can really make or break the game. That being said, this isn't actually a multiplayer game, and I figured I'd get that out of the way first because I've heard a lot of people talking about it. The extent of the connectivity right now is sending people on your friends list a score challenge and seeing their scores after you finish story missions. This doesn't bother me per se because I prefer offline single-player content for the most part, but it does feel like something's missing here. This could also change in the future, the game is still relatively new at the time of posting this, so if that changes, then all the power to you, Sega. Throughout the story, you'll compete in 17 events and 9 special EX events that have small changes, but be warned, these are nowhere even close to the Dream events in terms of wow factor. I mean, do you remember that one time that Mario and Sonic fought perfect chaos while figure skating? This ain't that! I'm not saying the EX events are bad, in fact, I actually prefer some of them to their normal counterparts since they often add little extras that make the games more fun. For example, in shooting, usually you just slide your finger around the screen and release to fire at the flying discs, but in EX shooting, when you charge up your SP meter, the tech guys kick the disc shooters into maximum overdrive, and then you get this crazy multi-lock-on feature and you can hit all the discs on the field at the same time and get some massive points. To be honest, the EX events should have just been the default thing, because there's no real point to play the regular ones if the EX ones are exactly the same, except better. Thanks to these two modes coexisting, it actually makes the game feel a bit tedious, since typically you'll compete in the normal version of the event, and then you'll move on to the EX event. Most move pretty quickly, but again, if it's a certain event like, oh, I don't know, badminton, you're gonna be stuck swatting this dumb shuttlecock back and forth until your finger gets bored and leaves you to pursue greater things in life. Alright, now it's time for a relay race starring just me. I'm gonna run through every single event quickly and describe each one. Let's do it. First up, the dash courses. 100, 200, 300, and 400 meter dash all play the same. You hold the screen for a starting dash, and then mash your finger into the screen to run to the goal as fast as possible. Next, the 400 meter hurdles. It starts like the dashes, but your character will move on their own. Your job is to tap the screen when a hurdle impedes your progress, and know how long to hold it down to maximize your time on the course. This game gains this awesome bonus move where your character basically does a drop dash after jumping over a hurdle, and it creates this whole new challenge because your speed gets so crazy high. This is a serious contender for #1 minigame in my book. EX hurdles is the exact same thing, except they add springs to the mix. If you hit a star spring, it helps you along, but Eggman springs knock you backwards. Archery has you dragging your finger around the screen to aim at the target down the line. The closer to the center, the greater your score, and you'll also be awarded bonus points if you let your reticle shrink to its smallest size. EX Archery adds an SP shot that takes the arch out of archery and allows you to shoot straight where your reticle's pointing. I've got a love-hate relationship with this one. Occasionally it's fun, but when the wind kicks up and the target starts moving around, it just gets tedious. Climbing has you flinging your character up a rock wall that they'll automatically latch onto if they come within range of a peg. You need to watch your stamina bar and refill on special pegs or else you'll fall. EX climbing adds a special super jump that can help you cross huge chunks of the wall quickly, and it's really fun to go back and try to beat your old times. Biking is fun, but also sort of awkward. Any game that requires you to drag your finger to do something, in my opinion, just doesn't feel perfect, but here it's very evident. You drag your finger across the screen to steer yourself, and then you have to go off ramps and do tricks and collect rings to try and be the first one to the goal. Unlike most events, rings in this one are not used for extra points, they're used to fill up your ring gauge so you can do a ring dash and get farther down the course in a shorter amount of time. Biking EX adds SP tricks, which don't really do much, and mud? You don't see me calling my backyard my EX backyard just because the landscaping guys did a bad job recently, do ya? In diving, you angle your jump, and then you try to grab as many rings as possible before swiping downwards to complete the dive. You gain an air jump to help grab more rings, and the EX version is pretty much just the same, only harder. It's in games like this where you can really notice the detail they put into this game. Like, for example, after your first jump, your character looks different than they did when they started because they were in the water, so they're not dry anymore. I think that's just kinda neat. Fencing is almost annoying, but it's just fun enough that it's not. Swiping back and forth lets you do a short hop in either direction, and swiping and holding lets you inch forward or backwards slowly. You're then able to jab at your opponents if you've got the stamina for it, or do some sick jump stabs. Sonic is ever fearful that his giant eyeball will be sliced from its socket, so he'll blind everyone else in self-defense before that happens. You can also rack up SP to zip right to your foes and give them a quick jab. Hammer throw is a mixed bag. Of hammers, I guess. You tap the screen really fast to build power and then release it at the perfect moment for it to fly as far as possible. In EX mode, you get multiple hammers with different point modifiers, and you'll get extra points depending on where it lands on the field. So instead of focusing on throwing it perfectly, you might want to change your trajectory a little bit to score the biggest amount of points. Karate is really entertaining. You just beat up your friends, like savagely. Punch, kick, and grab to earn points, and first to 100 is the victor. If you perform an SP attack when your buddy is stunned, you get huge big boy points. And that must have been what Dave did, because how did he get this many? It is simply witchcraft. Shooting is my absolute favorite. Contrary to what I said earlier about dragging the screen feeling awkward, here it works perfectly. All you need to do is shoot the discs that get launched and try not to miss. EX, of course, adds that multi-shot that I mentioned before, and some egg flyers to net you bonuses. Getting to the end now, we've got Trampoline, which is just that interlude from Sonic Dash where you hit the springs and have to slide your finger in different directions to do tricks. It is literally nothing. And finally, we have Badminton, which in my opinion is badminton. I'm sure you all saw that joke coming from a mile away. Thankfully, your character moves to the shuttlecock on their own, but your responsibility is sliding your finger on screen to return it to your opponent. There are a few different shots you can do depending on how you slide your finger, but what it boils down to is waiting for your opponent to mess up so you can spike them with these purple shots. EX mode adds a special you win shot, but that really doesn't stop it from going on for way too long with little enjoyment to be had. Maybe if you didn't have to make it to 7 or 8 points, it would be a little bit better, maybe like 4. It is just a slog every single time. This is really the only game I dread playing in this thing though, so I'd say 1 out of 17 ain't bad at all. There are also 3 other games I haven't played yet, table tennis, javelin throw, and long jump, but they're all self-explanatory and I'll get there eventually. See, this game, in my opinion, is best played in short bursts, so forcing longer playthroughs for the sake of this video is going to make me enjoy it less, and I really don't want that to be the case because I'm having a really good time with this so far. That should be a no-brainer though, right? Mobile game, short bursts, usually that's something built into these games, since they usually have these free-to-play mechanics, like energy meters. Despite this game being free-to-play, none of that is actually in sight, though there is a paywall after the first 11 levels, so it's more like a free-to-start game. When that popped up, I dropped $4.99, and so far I haven't hit anything else that I need to pay for. Also, if you do pay for it, you can give your friends these demo pass things, which lets them bypass that paywall, but I don't know for how long. I've never seen an app do that before, but if you've got friends, spread the love with some Olympic Games, and then crush their scores and hopes in one fell swoop.
You are the best trampoline man, and they shan't soon forget it.
But now that I think about it, shouldn't someone like Tails be better at trampoline than Sonic? You could always just switch to another character and see how that theory plays out. Yep, all alone as usual. Yeah, this is my least favorite part of this game. There are plenty of characters to play as, but the first time you play a story mission, you're required to play as Sonic. Sonic also receives all the SP abilities automatically, so playing as any other character is pretty much detrimental to your success. Sure, you can just use the materials that you get for winning Olympic events to purchase moves for your favorite characters, but what's the point? I already beat these events and got the gold, and with no real multiplayer to speak of, you might as well just use Sonic. It's funny that that was my conclusion for both Sonic Jump and this as well, but I don't know, the games don't lie, man. Sonic can also be used in every single event, whereas we're still restricting the other characters to specific events. Heck, Zavik can only be used in Hammer Throw. Sorry to disappoint you, Zavik fans. Oh yeah, I forgot there aren't any. Well, I guess there's no one to be disappointed then. Isn't it great how things work out like that? And now to end on a high note, there are a few little micro games found within the story. I doubt I've seen them all, but there's this memory game that I somehow did in one try despite the fact that I can't remember what I ate this morning for breakfast. There's a crane game that is surprisingly just as rigged as crane games in the real world, and of course, when I made a Sonic Jump video 2 weeks ago, I swear I had no idea this was coming, but what a nice little tribute. Instead of using gyro controls to control Sonic, you instead swipe on the screen, which I don't like as much, but in essence, it's Sonic Jump. And Sonic is nice enough to just disable the motobugs instead of destroying them. On a personal level, I appreciate that a great deal. And that's basically it for Sonic at the 2020 Olympic Games. Should you check it out? Absolutely. Should you buy the full game? Also absolutely. This thing is so much more than I was expecting. Whenever I see a mobile game release, I'm always deterred from checking it out because I just don't play games on my phone. But these days, I've been eating my words a lot. Rockman X Dive, Crash Bandicoot Mobile, Sonic at the Olympic Games, and heck, even Raid. I'm having so much more fun than I ever thought I would, and I can do it from the comfort of anywhere in the world. Oh, did you think I was gonna green screen myself into some wacky location after that? Nah, this is my favorite place to be. I ain't hard to please. Alright, that's a wrap on this one. I'm gonna throw up a quick fan art of the week. If you're interested in contributing to that, make sure to join my Discord and you can post fan art there. If you like this video and you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe, click the bell, follow my Twitter, and join the Discord to keep up with more Sonic reviews and other things that aren't Sonic reviews, because I do a lot of things. I'd also like to give a huge thank you to my current supporters, who are Alex Sniff, Cutie Monica, Common CJ, KDoc64, Danny Dauber, Mike TGC, Chaosk, let me know if I mispronounced that, I will fix that, Cosmic Mushroom, Bean TDD, Sonic Channel 182, Silva PhD, Chaotic Mercenary, Ty Little Tech Guy, Jaded Indolent, Jeremy, Lucas Tallman, Mega Traffic Cone, Crystal, and on Patreon, huge thank you to AJ Rat, Rob Morrison, and everyone else who's supporting me in the $1 tier on both sites. Thank you guys so much for the support, it really means a lot. If you have any interest in becoming a supporter yourself, either go down below and click the join button, or go up to the top of the video and click on my Patreon link. Supporting the channel, even for $1 a month, gets you an entire playlist of exclusive videos such as bloopers, and other things in the Discord, such as voice calls and other kind of game nights and all that cool stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.